Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Breaking Keyfabe, episode 21. I am your host, Larry, and on the Shadowed City podcast, and we await upon my guest. He is one of the owners, promoters, and trainers for UWA, Chris Cannon. I'm excited for this. And I do hope everybody is having a great day, good night, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever y'all may be. And here he is. Hello, Kaz.
Hello, mate. How's it going?
Can you hear me?
I can. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Good man.
How was your time at the gym?
Oh, mate, I hurt my knee this afternoon. Pushing too heavy on the leg press. And I know I shouldn't because I'm waiting for a knee replacement on the left.
A knee replacement? Like you're going to get it amputated?
No, like a new knee. I need a new knee. I need a full metal knee.
Wow. And you're going to be wrestling with that?
Oh, yeah, aye. Of course I will.
You're going to knock people out with that metal knee.
So that's the plan.
And you talk about others working stiff, man. You already work stiff enough. Now you got a metal knee. Come on, man.
I've been known that I am a little bit stiff.
Do you mind repeating that? I did not really hear that part. What?
I'm saying it has been known that I work a little bit stiff.
Yes, we talked about you working a little bit stiff. Like you said, you do it when you need to be, but you always try to make it look real no matter what you do.
Oh, yeah. There's nothing worse than somebody saying, oh, well, that looks fake. You know, that's the last thing I want people to say when they watch one of my matches. So, you know, if I strike, I am connecting. If I kick somebody in the face, I'm connecting. I'm just doing it as safe as possible.
Heck yeah, that's the way to do it. And freaking, when it came to your name, how did your name Chris Cannon come about?
You know what it is? I had a feeling you might ask that, and I've been racking my brains trying to think about it. But it's been that long, I can't quite pinpoint when I decided on that name. I think, to be honest, I had been a fan of Chris Canyon. You know,
Okay.
I thought the fact that he innovated moves and pulled it off was really well. So there's a chance I did steal slightly the Chris part from him. But the Cannon part, when I used to box, I had a canny right hand. So maybe that was the Cannon.
Hey, I like that. And welcome, Daniel DJB is in the house. Welcome, Lockdown is here.
Oh,
Now, how did you first get into pro wrestling? What inspired you to pursue it as a thing?
I think I'd always loved it. I think I've been watching it since I was about 4, fighting a 5-year-old. I'd always loved it, but around where I grew up in South Shields, back then there was nothing like that. And I think I used to be a backyard wrestler with some of my friends. You know, we'd meet together and we'd meet at a gym and we'd put loads of mats down and we'd just kick 7 bells out of each other for the next 4 hours. You know, so I grew up like loving that, and I learned how to bump quite early. And I think what had happened was there's a local leisure centre in South Shields called Temple Park, and they had advertised American wrestling training. And me and my friend group, you know, attended, and you know that's where I learned to apply the trade.
And doing this in backyard wrestling, did you guys like have like a promotion that was like big around you where you guys were at? Like you guys were the big backyard promotion?
No, not really. It was just like me and a group of friends. You know, we'd do all sorts. We'd get table. I've done my first blade job as a backyard wrestler. You know, I gouged a hole in my head to bleed. For a trip to the hospital with that one.
So, what did you use? Did you use like the standard razor, or did you like tell them to hit you with something?
No, I used the razor blade. I cut it myself. I wrapped it in a little bit of tape. I had no idea what I was doing. I just knew that's how the pros did it. So I did it. You can still see the scar there. It's massive.
Oh.
Yeah, I went too deep.
And battle scars, and I would imagine going into the pros, you've also had your fair few scars that you have on probably your back, your arms, everywhere, right?
Yeah, mate, I'm covered in them. Like, I'm covered. The scars, mainly the gag marks all over the head. You can see them, slightly. I'm covered in them. I do like a bit of realism. So asking me to bleed on a show is not a problem.
Well said. Welcome, Katie. Welcome, Rob Galbeth. Welcome, Matthew Simpson. Welcome, Charlotte Collingwood. Evening, Dagon. Welcome, Tomko, Maddie Wright. He said you're Baldy and bouncer?
Yeah, I'm a nightclub bouncer, so that's where he's getting that from.
Oh, like you actually work at like a nightclub during the nights?
Yeah.
Nice. Welcome, Rit Hick. And he said, Tomko said, Havoc's back. Welcome, Steph Johnson. Everybody's joining in to come see this. What was your big first break in wrestling, and how did it shape your path?
My first break, it came along when I started training at American Wrestling Camp in South Shields. It was run by a promotion called WrestleZone Wrestling, which was run by a guy who shares the same name as me. He was called Gary Graham. And there I trained with a guy called the Wild Thing, Adam Brown, who was a big jacked bodybuilder guy who'd been over to America, and taught us what he'd known. I also trained with Isaac Harrop, known as the Iceman, UK hardcore deathmatch icon. I learned a lot from Iceman. I credit a lot of what I teach to how I was taught by Iceman. They did like a competition, and it was whoever won the competition, whoever trained the hardest, got a spot on the show, and I ended up winning that and got my spot on their first show.
Wow. And you got an early experience of like a man that's known for his deathmatch brutality is what probably made you love the hardcore style even more, right?
Yeah. I mean, I'm not a lover of the. I don't think I'm too old to get into the deathmatch stuff now, but I do enjoy watching it. Iceman, as a coach, he was very nurturing, but he was tough. And what he taught you was valuable, and I still remember sitting down and just listening to him talk. Fantastic guy.
Matthew asked, have you ever chokeslammed or powerbombed somebody whilst working on the doors?
I have definitely hit a German suplex. I know that for a definite. I've definitely hit a German suplex.
Okay. Ooh. Crushing the guy's skull at the end of that. I admit those moves are not easy. And Rit Higgs said you hit a pal driver and eliminated yourself at the Rumble, and welcome Brian Chaplow.
Yes, I did. Tombstone pile driver on the apron. Ended up eliminating myself.
Them risks, no reward, right? With your next live event coming up, are you excited for your match with Lucien? What are you most excited about with that match? Ask Steph Johnson who asked that.
I'm very excited to work that match with Lucien. Lucien in the hard, he likes that hard environment. He enjoys being hit hard, which he's in for a good night because I enjoy hitting hard. But he's a good kid, He another one who listens and values what I teach, and he's coming along incredibly.
Understood. About Isaac Hara as like a mentor. Was there any other influence you like to tell about?
Influence. I mean, like I say, there was Iceman and there was a guy. Sorry, you're cutting out there, Brandon.
Yeah, I'm here. Sorry.
Okay. What was the question again, mate?
When you talk about Isaac Harrop being an influence and a mentor, was there any more mentors or influences?
Yeah. There was a guy called Carl Turner who wrestled under the name General Trent Steele. Another one. He taught very well. He was a good coach. He gave me a lot of. He smartened me up on the insides of the business. Yeah, he was a good guy, Carl. I've never seen Carl for years. I don't know if he's still. I know he's retired from wrestling, but I've never seen him involved for a long time.
And when it came to like people that influenced you, like, did you watch anybody that really like? I saw this guy and I like what he did. And you talk about Chris Cannon. I mean, Chris Canyon inspiring your name. You are Chris Cannon, but anybody like that? Like you watched?
Yeah, I was heavily influenced by the Undertaker, Mark Calloway. Very heavily influenced by him. I the way he died punches, the way he sold. You know, when he was coming out with the dead man gimmick and turning more into the biker. I thought he didn't get enough credit for how well he can sell. His striking was unbelievable for a guy that big, and his athleticism. I mean, I was always very drawn to the Undertaker.
Would you say that his strikes were different? That, like you talk about him, like nobody else has done that strike. Was no other big man like that to you able to do strikes like that?
No, definitely not. I mean, his striking was so believable, but you know, knowing what I know he's very light. You know, to be in the ring with, he's a very light hitter, but to look at, it looks spectacular. So I took a lot of influence from the way the guy strikes.
Incredible there. What was hardcore like? What was training in general like? What would you have to walk us through? Like, what did you have to do?
Once we got there, we got ready. It would be at least half an hour to 45 minutes of cardio and drills. You know, really warm up the body. Back then I was younger and I could do that type of stuff, no problem. You know, so there would be the drills and then it would be mat wrestling. And once you got through the mat, a lot of people thought the mat wrestling was boring. I enjoyed it. So once we got through the mat wrestling part, that's when, you know, the clothesline and the suplexing and all that would start. And it was, you know, I just shone from there because I was always quite a strong guy. You know, I was physically strong. So, you know, I used to enjoy holding people about, and I still do.
Matthew said, always wondered if wrestling instincts kick in when wrestlers who work the door.
It does. It really does.
And here's your opponent from March Mayhem, Mr. Lucian Graves himself. Now, since you first started, what's changed since you first started in the industry?
When I first started, you know, there was, you know, respect was, you know, paramount. You respected the promoter, you respected other wrestlers. I think the respect has lost a little bit in certain locker rooms. Yeah. And you get a lot of promoters who are too happy to have you work for free or ask you to work for free, and cut corners, and then, you know, the politics. I've never been a fan of politics. It's bullshit to me. You know, I've got no time for that stuff like that.
Understood. How do you prepare yourself before a match or show in general?
Well, I think now it takes me a little bit longer to prepare. I mean, back then I could jump straight out of the car into a locker room and, you know, go to the ring within half an hour. Now it takes me a long time to warm up. You know, with being, you know, a little bit older, a little bit more injuries. It takes me a bit longer to warm up, stretch off. But, you know, I think the buzz for going through the curtain burns stronger now than it ever has.
Well said. Can you give us maybe some notable injuries and how you recovered from them?
Notable injury. I have 2 slip discs and a crumbled vertebrae in the lumbar region of my spine.
Jesus.
That came after I was toe punted in the spine, and it pushed a vertebrae straight through. So I mean, at the time when that happened, I thought, that hurts. I wonder what happened there. And then I'd wrestled 3 weeks later, and I took a choke slam off a guy who was, you know, he was huge. He was almost, you know, he wasn't far off 7 foot. And he choke slammed me, and when I landed on an overlapped board. So normally the boards are like that. This board went like that. So as I've landed, it pretty much broke me back. I've had muscle tears. I've you know, my knee, the knee damage. I think that's years of tombstoning people. But, you know, that knee needs replaced, and I've had over 15 documented concussions, and and I do have, you know, issues with the brain now.
Is this one reason you're looking to retire sometime in like the future?
I think, I think if I was to say I've got another year, that would be being generous. You know, I do intend to try and slow down my routine a little bit, you know, take it a bit more easier in the ring. I don't have to go full throttle. I don't have to take these massive bumps no more, but I still do. But I think if you'd asked me, you know, a few years ago, I would keep going until the wheels fall off. I'd keep going until I can't do no more. But now, you know, I've got a family to think about. I've got a partner. I've got children. You know, I need to think about my longevity in terms of being a father.
That's commendable. I love that. What's been the most surprising part about your wrestling journey?
That I'm still alive. That's a very surprising part. I could have been a wrestling tragedy because, you know, I did have my struggles with prescription painkillers. You know,
Yeah.
I was hooked on prescription painkillers for a long time, and a very powerful one, very close to morphine. That I was taking ridiculous amounts every day, and you know that should have killed me a long time ago. But I think I clicked on to that when I got with my partner Kirsty, and she kind of helped me make sure I don't take stuff like that no more. I'm very careful with what I take. But I definitely could have been a wrestling tragedy, and that's what surprises me the most now, is that I'm still alive at 41.
It's amazing. We're glad to have you still with us. We're glad for that. How has your wrestling style and approach changed since you first started?
I mean, back when I first started, I would take a bump on the floor. I would take a bump through a table on the floor. I would, you know. Whereas now I've got to be very careful because my back just cannot take that no more. So I'm a little bit careful about how I bump. I'm even careful about who I get in the ring with nowadays. You know, if I think they're reckless, you know, that's a no from me. I cannot afford to do that now. So back then I was a little bit more of a no fear guy, you know. Whereas now, older, think about it more, injury prone. I mean, you wouldn't believe, I'm still sore now. Off our show 2 weeks ago. I'm still sore now.
Wow. And you're going to be put in a situation where you're working for a title that's dedicated to the hardcore commodity, like, or what's the word for it? The hardcore style. Are you going to be, if you do win that title, are you ready for the risks that come with that? Because you've already had a lot of stuff could happen. Do you think that you could hold that title and not have to vacate it?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I wouldn't be in this match if I didn't think I could handle it. And you know, I do have a lot left in the tank. Although I say having a year left might be being generous. I still think I've got a lot left in the tank. You know, I'm in shape. I'm in better shape than, you know, most of the guys in the locker room. I do work hard to keep myself in shape. I look after myself. So I think you know, although I'm older than Lucien, I'm more experienced. I'm fitter. I'm bigger, and I do have the edge when it comes to that.
Awesome. What have you learned about yourself through wrestling?
What have I learned about myself today? That's a hard one. I probably learned that I can take more. It's amazing what the human body can take in terms of punishment before it starts giving you signals that, you know, something's not right. It's amazing what you can put the human body through. And you know, if you could bottle that feeling of adrenaline when you step through the curtain, that you feel invincible. And I still do now. I mean, even though I'm sore now and I'm hurting, when I step through the curtain, I am invincible. Nothing can hurt us. So that feeling is, you know, you can't explain that to people, but that's fantastic.
Lucien just said, fitter can be heavily debated. Huff along.
Hey, he might have a bit more lung capacity than me, but if I get a hold of him, he's not going anywhere.
Uh-oh. What's What's some of the biggest lessons you've been taught in pro wrestling, would you say?
Be careful who you trust. Be careful who you talk to and what you say. Because, you know, these things can and will be used against you for other people's gains. You know, because there is some real shithouses about. And they will use anything you've told them, not just necessarily against me. I've watched people, you know, almost be ruined by what some people would say about them. And it's disgusting. So, you know, be careful what you say and who you trust. Because, you know, in a world full of diamonds and shitbags, there's more shitbags.
And wrestling itself, it's not always been known to be the cleanest thing ever, because like I was just explaining to Alfie yesterday, like especially back in the day, people were able to get away with things that were like, oh, we get to go against the rules, the script, and we get to take advantage of this. And like sometimes nowadays, you see that nowadays.
Yeah. People will, you know, it's appalling what some people get away with. It really is appalling what some people can get away with, or think they can get away with.
Agreed.
This is why I don't really do the social media thing. You know, too much negativity. You know, it's no good to anybody, and I try and stay away from that. I'm a man's man. You know, if you've got a problem with me, come and say it to my face. But no, some people are quite happy to just sit behind a computer or type away and talk shit.
Keyboard warriors, that they would call.
Oh yeah, there's plenty of them about.
Matthew said, I sympathize regarding the injuries. As a ring announcer, I can get a very strained throat the next day. Hashtag announcers get injured too.
Maybe that's what I'll do when I retire. I might take my spot on the announcer's table.
Hey, do you think that's what you'll do if you're not a wrestler no more? You'll just be commentary?
I'll maybe do commentary. I definitely couldn't be a ring announcer. I'd laugh too much or I'd swear. I'm terrible for swearing.
Yeah. Prince Dagon, regarding what we were talking about, how you were regarding people that are shisty in this business, he said still see it these days.
Yeah. We see it every day. We see it just recently, you know. Ridiculous.
Welcome, Roma. She says, Kirsty Renison, hey, how's are you, hun? And welcome, Nathan. He said true to what you said.
How are you? Who's Roma? Kirsty's friend. Hello, Roma.
What keeps you motivated?
What keeps me motivated is my trainees. The fact that my daughter is banging to wrestling at the minute, and I'm training her currently. You know, that keeps me going. My trainees keep me going through this. I mean, I would have retired a long time ago, but you know, when I took my boots off and swore on a live microphone or another promotion, that was me done. But you know, these people wanted me to open a training academy, which I did. So, you know, that's definitely what keeps me going, is my trainees, my daughter, my partner, my business partners. Fantastic. I say business partner. I'm not really a business partner. I'm the consultant. I'm the coach and the consultant. That's it.
I hear you. Welcome, Nathan Maskell. Welcome, sir. He says hi, everybody. Well, hi, guys. And now, when it comes to people you have worked with in the ring, it doesn't necessarily have to be a trainer's. But who stands out to you from guys that you have worked with, like just like working with them in like maybe a more capacity than others, but ones that just like stand out to you?
I used to wrestle for a company called 3CW that was based in Middlesbrough. They brought me in and a couple of other guys, and one of our guys who I trained with was he was called Dave Styles. He was a good friend of mine, Dave Johnson. He's called. Me and him had some insane chemistry in the ring, and he was so easy to work with. He was one of these guys with, you know, if you're going to throw a super kick and make it connect. It's up to them to protect themselves. And Dave would take your head off with a super kick. Ooh. But I was also known for taking heads off with a clothesline. So, you know, he used to go backwards and forwards. And Dave, I'm sure, is responsible for a couple of my concussions. But again, I'm sure I'm responsible for a couple of his. Recently, guys like, Hex, Nathan Hartley, fantastic worker, really quick, really fast, likes to learn, will bump for anything, great kid. Young guy called Jacob, fantastic kid, so promising. He's got a good physique. He's one of these kids that realizes, sometimes having a good physique in this industry is what's needed. You see too many, very, very pale, very pasty, kids with, nobody. And I'm a body guy. I like to think, if you've got a good physique, it helps. And Jakob's picked up on that, and he's got a hell of a physique, and he's just a fantastic kid.
Definitely has a bright future ahead in this industry, and now he's under the UWA banner and traveling other places. Of course, it's amazing of how this wrestling business continues to grow. Out of all the trainees you have trained, is there a few that you have saw evolve that you are inspired by?
I've trained a lot of people over a lot of years. They all inspire me because, no matter what I teach them, no matter what I teach anybody, I always like to tell people, the more people you are trained by, the better. You learn different styles. I do train my daughter, but I also send her to IWF to train under Persona, who's he's a fantastic coach. Knows his stuff, and he's lucha libre, which I can't teach because I'm a big heavyweight guy. So, what I teach my daughter is one thing, and then I send her to Persona for another thing, and he's just fantastic at what he does. Considering all the shit I heard that was talked about him by previous people, nothing can be further from the truth. Persona is a good lad, he's a fantastic wrestler, and he's an even better coach.
Lucian just said you're very pale and very pasty.
I ain't got no fake tan on at the minute.
And Dagon touched on what you said. Nathan Hartley and Jakob, unbelievable.
Yeah. Dagon's got a good eye. He's like myself. He's got a good eye for people.
And you've worked with Dagon before as well.
I haven't worked with Dagon yet, which is, that is on the bucket list before I retire.
That's why we suggested the cage match last time, right? That's why we suggested that.
Definitely. If he is up for it, I am more than up for it. I would love to work with Dagon. Great guy. I love him to bits. I love his style of wrestling. It's very similar to mine. So, if there's ever a time we can, please say we will.
I would love to see that, and I remember us talking about it and being like, dude, you talked about the cage. You guys are the cage match. Let's go for UWA.
There's a chance I'm getting in the cage and I can pick my opponent. It's definitely Prince Dagon.
Well said. Dagon actually touched on what you said about your daughter. Your daughter is doing fantastic, and Kobe Archer, welcome. And do you think your daughter is going to carry on the Canon name, or does she have her own goal that she's going towards with her own name?
She's got her own identity, which I like. I wouldn't. I would like her to find herself.
Okay.
As a wrestler, find out what style she likes. If there is ever a chance she's going to be jacked, tanned, and juicy and knock the shit out of people, then she can more than likely have the Canon name.
Now, where you said that your clotheslines are taking off people's heads, basically, do you think you would say you have a better clothesline than the clothesline from hell?
Oh, that's a tough one. That is a tough one because John Layfield, he's 6'6" and he's a 300-pounder. I'm only 5'9" and 230, but I've got a hell of a clothesline. But I would take John's if he would take mine.
That would be a dream match, I would say, for you, right?
Yeah, definitely. Very, very similar style, very smash mouth. I like that. It doesn't get the credit he deserves. He was a fantastic heel. He was a fantastic champion.
Do you like playing a heel or a face more?
That's a tough one. I haven't played heel for a long time. because where I wrestle locally, I'm people know me around here, and I tend not to get booed, but I do enjoy playing heels, but playing heels is more enjoyable. You get to set the pace of the match and control how it goes, and I do like to talk a bit of shit, So I would say I enjoy playing heel more, but I do love being a babyface.
Understood. Sunderland would erupt, and Dagon said because of you, if you guys were to have that match, Sunderland would erupt.
Oh, it would. Oh, it really would. It would be fantastic. Really would. My missus is sitting here too.
Welcome, Unc Oatis. Welcome, sir. Now, how do you try to, when you're wrestling, do you try to give us something different each time, or do you have like a standard moveset you go for, but you're always looking to do something different? Does that make sense?
Yeah. I've got a move set that I keep. It seems to be working for us, so I do keep it. I do like to throw something new in every now and then. I mean, on the last show, I threw in a drop kick. I've never thrown a drop kick for years, and I'll probably never throw one again. But but I do like to throw in, something. I mean, I'm quite, for being a big lad, I'm quite athletic, so every now and then I like to throw something in like that.
Okay. What's that? What's your favorite way to unwind after a show or a match in general? Since you are a trainer, and a head owner, and you're wrestling, like, how do you unwind after all that?
my partner's making some funny gestures at me in a minute. So what I like to do to unwind, I like to come home. I like to have a shower. I lie in bed, and I'm a big softy at heart. So I'm a big cuddler. So I like to cuddle up to the missus. Give her a foot massage, which she enjoys. That relaxes me. Seeing her relaxes me. So after the chaos of a show, it's nice to come home where I belong and be with the person I belong with.
Well said. Well said. How do you balance wrestling with other life commitments?
Very, very difficultly. I have a busy household. There's me, Kirsty. Kirsty's got 7 children. I've got 2. So altogether, that's 9. So being a father, being a mother is like a full-time job. Working as a bouncer, a nightclub bouncer, and I also have a big Rottweiler that I like to take care of. And I'm a keen weightlifter, bodybuilder, whatever you like to call it. I'm very keen on that. So the gym is my place to just be by myself, listen to music and chill, and get some work in. But when I come home, I'm dad. At wrestling, you can call me Gaz, you can call me Chris, but when I come home, I'm dad.
I love that. Congratulations on the father life.
Thank you.
So you maybe give us some road stories you maybe have for us that you would like to tell us. Like, you've had over 25 plus years, I believe it is, of experience, and you've had some like fun times on the road, traveling places, meeting people. Like, you have any fun stories for us?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say fun, but I remember I was traveling to Scotland, and there was myself, Iceman. I think it might have been Tim Strange, and somebody else who were traveling, and it was who died.
Okay.
It was the day Eddie Guerrero gets to Scotland, and I'm wrestling on that Scotland show with Nick D'Lo Brown, and Jerry W was there too, and set was, it was kind of made you feel like, right? So, that camaraderie was good. I remember, Jack Harrop, Iceman's son, was only young at the time, and I remember Iceman ringing him and saying, Jack, Eddie Guerrero's died, son, and him being very upset on that, that was it. That was an experience. Fun road stories is as a wrestler from the northeast, you travel past a service station called Weatherby Services, and I think it's a northeast wrestling staple. So you go to Weatherby Services, you can guarantee from anything from food fights, from actual fights in the parking lot, stuff like that. It was hilarious.
That's awesome.
A lot of stories that I probably wouldn't tell that would get a lot of men into trouble.
Oh, okay. Well said. Well said. You guys being naughty. Now, you work with trainees. You talk about how you've trained people and how you are currently still doing that. What advices or just advice that you would give somebody just starting out at this exact moment in time?
Somebody just starting out, I would say, for me personally, get in the gym. Get in the gym, get your physical strength up there, get your cardio done, make sure you look the part. Also, get your gear, buy your gear, spend money on some gear. And the main thing is be professional and be coachable. Make sure you are moldable. You might come with a gimmick that is terrible. Be moldable so we can help. Yeah, and the most important thing is being able to take criticism. I'm a hard coach, and if I think something is shit or it's wrong, I'll unload and I will shout and I will swear because I expect better. So when somebody comes in and I know they can do it and they do it bad, I lose my shit because I like to say it done right. And I know when people produce shit, they can do better. So always be better, always be coachable, always take criticism on the chin.
Well said. Someone getting a call. Are you getting a call or Mike? I'm not getting a call.
Thought it was you. I could hear something vibrating. It might have been my speaker on the blink.
Yeah, that's what Titch said, lockdown. And Dagon said, Weatherby is always a good spot to stop off on the road.
It is. It's as famous as any wrestler, Weatherby Services.
Lockdown said back bumps, and Dagon said, I love constructive criticism.
Lockdown saying back bumps because I bust his ass because it took him ages to get this back bump correct. And I've stood there, I've screamed at him, I've shouted at him, I've slapped him over the head. I lose my shit with Lockdown because I know he can do it. But he went through a phase of doing it fantastic on the crash pads, absolutely fantastic on the crash pad. His face bump, his flip bump, fantastic. But that back bump, he could not get it. His leg kind of tried to get his way under his arse. And it used to piss me off, and I would lose my shit with him. But he's got it. He's got it now.
He said he did it last week.
He's full of shit. Yes, he did. He did.
Is that why you guys got him hit with that can or whatever it was you said?
If I'm not in the ring and I see him bump and he does it wrong, I fall arse in there. I don't take that shit. If he thinks he can get away with a slight mistake on his back bump, he's mistaken.
And it's not just him. Like you're doing with other trainees that you're being hard on them just to teach them something.
Yeah. I mean, I wasn't taken easy on as a trainee. I got taught valuable lessons. So I'm tough on them because they're going to run into pricks in this industry. They've already have. I took them away from somewhere which was run by an absolute prick. So it's teaching them to know. I'm hard on them for a reason. And they'll remember it one day. One day they'll come back and say, guys, thank you so much. Or they'll say, you taught me fuck all.
At least you've made a connection with great people. And look what you guys have started together, UWA. Do you think it was ever do you think that this was just a long time in the making and your goals have been accomplished by even starting this?
To be honest, I mean, like when I I started up the Urban Wrestling Alliance a long time ago, which I ran with another two guys. And I mean, back then I had a bit of a reputation for being a bit of a bully. To be honest, I was a prick because I was one of those, I was one of those guys that thought I knew everything. So I was, I would say I was a bit of a bully. So, but given the opportunity to start again, and the fact that I've got a fresh mind frame, I'm definitely not a bully. I'm hard on people, but definitely not a bully. I'm support anybody through anything. But my mindset back then was wrong, whereas my mindset now is pure, and it's it's going to lead to big things.
Well said, well said. And also, Alistair Nerds, Alfie Jackson and Hybrid are going live with their Imperial Wrestling Federation show, Sets Me with the Detriment, so catch that when y'all can. Good stuff. Want to shout them out. When it comes to working in other places, you work for UWA just of right now, right? Like, you're not working anywhere else, but you're also willing to work otherwheres?
Yeah, well, I'll take bookings anyway, but at the minute I'm quite happy, just not working every